Yeah, hope you all are doing well. Yesterday timing was not so appropriate. So if you have any time suggestion, then let us know. We will think about it. And also currently we are facing with the COVID-19 situation. So in weekdays we have to work for office, and after that we need to join these classes. And also this is also good if we want to learn any new technology. And yesterday, apart from this, yesterday I didn't got any question regarding this session. So if you have any, please let us know. We will clarify your doubts. And today's topic will be AWS. So this will be our class schedule. First, we will look around what is IAM in AWS, why it is useful, and after that we will go to EC2, then EBS, then S3, and after that we will comparison about what EBS versus EFS versus S3, because among three all are using for storage purpose, but what are the difference between them? And after that we will look into deployment strategies. So what is IAM? IAM stands for Identity Access Management. And suppose if you want to do anything on cloud, so for that IAM is responsible for giving all type of permission. Like suppose if you want to run any EC2 machine, or suppose if you want to run any Ansible job, or whatever kind of job, on that time you have to take any role, you have to create any role or policies for creating those kind of jobs. And this is IAM is responsible for centralized control of your AWS account. Like suppose if you want to give any access to users or any kind of thing, on that case you need to take role from IAM. And this is also shared access for your AWS account. Like suppose what happened in production you will have 2 3 accounts. One will be for staging, one will be for QA, and one will be for production. So by using this IAM thing, you can share with your all three kind of AWS account. And this is also useful for identity federation. Like suppose in login time, lot of where you can see logging with Gmail, logging with SSO, or logging with Facebook and other thing. This also comes under IAM. This comes under Cognito. And this is also multi-factor authentication. Like after doing password you will get some MFA code. And this I am also responsible for your password rotation policy. Password rotation in the sense after every 7 days or 8 days, it will change your password. And also like suppose if you want to use any password policy, on that suppose you don't need to use previous 5 last used password. So you can also do this by using IAM. And also in IAM you will face three type of policies. These are managed policy, customer managed policy, and inline policy. So what is this managed policy? So this managed policy, AWS will administrator this managed policy, and you have to only use it. And like suppose for example you can suppose DynamoDB full access or code commit. Wait, let me show you. Here you have to search for IAM. This is manage access to AWS resources. In this here, you can find policies, create policy here. You can import managed policy. These are administrator access policy, or suppose if you want some EC2 permission, then EC2 full access, EC2 read only access. These all are managed by AWS, and you have to only copy and paste this. If you want it's JSON, like here you can copy this JSON. Suppose if I copy this JSON, copy, and suppose if I want to create another policy, this is called customer managed policy. So what happened in customer managed policy, these are standalone policy that you can create, and also you can use this policy with multiple accounts. Like suppose this is my this thing, and suppose if you want to allow some EC2 thing also. So here this star stands for full access, or like suppose if you want to use any IEM policy, so here you can use IEM and star. And suppose if you want to review this policy, so see here EC2 full access, IEM full access, S3 list and read. Why list and read? Because in previous thing here, this we are only using S3 get object version and list object. That's why here we are only seeing this S3 read and list permission. And one more thing, as I mentioned earlier, here policies will be three types: managed policy that you can take from AWS, customer managed policy that currently we are creating, and one more come, this is inline policy. So what is the difference between them? So suppose if you are thinking about managed policy, so like suppose if you have three different AWS account, on that case you have to use AWS managed policy. You can't use customer managed policy. And if you are using customer managed policy, then you can use this customer managed policy within your AWS account to give access to multiple users and multiple groups also, with creating roles. And suppose if you are talking about inline policy, so this inline policy is only responsible for one kind of role. It is only for like one to one relation. Like suppose here if I create this test description and create policy, entity already exists, test one. So here, and suppose if we are creating any role, create role, we are suppose if we want to create role for EC2, so here we need to click this one, then next permission, and see here we can see create policy, or if we want to use any AWS managed policy, then here we can select this is a administrator means you can use any AWS resources. Here it will divert to new tab for create new policy. Like suppose I want to choose service S3, here S3, and I want list read write, and that's it. Review policy contents and error. S3 full access, create policy. After that, in this tab, you need to refresh this one. Then S3 full access. Then next tag, role EC2 user review policy S3 full access for EC2. So after doing this thing, you can see here one role will be there. S3 EC2 full access role, and you can attach this with your any EC2 services because we created this only for our EC2. And next come to another slide here. So what is Amazon EC2? So in Amazon EC2 will provide us secure resizable cloud computing, and also like suppose if it also followed vertical scaling in the sense like suppose if you previously you have one server with a 2 GB RAM and 2 CPU configuration, but after some time if you want to increase it by 4 CPU and 4 GB RAM, so on that case you will not destroy your previous server, and you on that time you need new server with your existing data, so you can easily scale this thing by using EC2 machine. And also EC2 will come with a different pricing model, and this also follows infrastructure as a service in the sense it is you will get one server and you have to do any kind of automation or any kind of web application you can host over there, and this EC2 option will there like on demand, reserved instance, spot instance, and also one dedicated host. If if you have any doubts, you can ask me if you have. Okay, so what is on demand? On demand allows you us to pay fixed rate by proper hour with proper commitment. Like suppose if you want to run T2 microservices for 3 hours, so they will charge based on per hour. Like suppose here EC2 pricing AWS. See, C for large, you will get with 0.119 per dollar, and this is for EMR. This EMR stands for Elastic Map Reduce. This is mainly responsible for doing big data and Hadoop kind of thing. And for C for large, C series is responsible for CPU machines, and like suppose if you want to use any other thing in the sense like R series is for memory, and okay, and this reserved instance, and this AWS will provide us with a 1 to 3 year commitment. Like suppose if you want to reserve this EC2 instance for 1 year to 3 year, on that time they will provide us extra discount. And suppose if suppose you are buying any server for 3 year of reservation, so on that time you will get 70 to 80% of discount. Maximum it's a 75% discount. And also you will also convert this RI instance with 54% of off on demand instance. And after that this spot instance will come. Spot instance will enable us to bid whatever price you want for instance capacity. Like suppose for EC2 previous this EC2 machine, for this C for X large, currently they are pricing is at 0.199 per hour. So you can bid this thing for 0.05 per hour dollar. If they have this price, then you will get this instance. If price go high to your price limit, then on that time they will destroy your instance and they will give this instance to another person. And dedicated host means it is physical EC2 server dedicated to your use. Dedicated hosts can help us to reduce cost by allowing you to use your existing server bound software license. And this is also there, like suppose if you have one EC2 machine, and this AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. Amazon Machine Image is also for region log. In AWS you will find lots of region like Singapore region, Mumbai region, North Virginia, Ohio region, that you can find here. Wait. Here, North Virginia, Ohio, North California, Oregon, Cape Town, Hong Kong, Mumbai, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, and lots of there. So AMI is logged based on their region specific, and AMI is for Amazon Machine Image. Suppose if you want to run Ubuntu machine, or if you want to run Fedora, CentOS, or any other thing, so you have to use that kind of AMI. And here you can SSH into by using its public IP. Public IP is responsible for your connecting to your server, and private IP, this will come based on your VPC configuration. Suppose if your CIDR block is based on 10.000/16, so based on that CIDR range, you will get any private IP, and that will not never change whenever you have that instance. And also, if you are using normal IP, then public IP will change on every reboot. So that's why we have to use elastic IP if you want any static IP. Otherwise it will be dynamic, and every restart or reboot it will change your public IP. And in free tier you can only use 5 maximum EIP within one region. But if you want to increase your quota, you can raise ticket with AWS. They will increase this limit. And for billing purpose also, as I told you, this EC2 will price based on this 4 type of instance on demand. If we are using on demand, then they will charge based on per hour. If we are using reserved instance, then we have to pay for 1 to 3 year. Spot instance is also differ from price, and dedicated host also. And security group, what is security group? Like suppose these are the firewalls for your EC2 instance, and that is also responsible for incoming and outgoing traffic from your EC2 instance. And availability zone, this is also main thing, because in North Virginia you will find 4 availability zone, but in other region like Mumbai and Ohio, you will get 3 or 4 availability zone. Availability zone is mainly for disaster recovery. Like suppose one availability went down, so on that case you will use another availability zone for your instance. And that's it. And this is what is EBS. Like suppose if you already launch any EC2 instance, on that time you need some block storage in the sense, like suppose your hard disk. So this is EBS is responsible for your data. And one more thing, like suppose this also follows vertical scalings in the sense, like suppose previous you have 6 GB data, and after some time you will face like, no, 6 GB is not enough for us, we want 4 more GB. So on that case you will not do like what I am doing. You can remove this 6 GB data, and we will put 10 GB disk on it, so it will be not useful. So in this what we can do, we can increase this 6 GB to 10 GB. So this is called vertical scaling. And this EBS, Amazon EC2 also follows horizontal scaling. And Amazon EBS allows us to create storage volume, then attach to EC2 instance. Once they will attach to EC2 instance, then on top of it, we can create our file system. And also one more thing, this EBS is reason locked, that like and this thing here for in EC2, in AMI also this is reason locked. Same case happened with EBS. These are also reason specific thing. Wait. And after that, here, incremental backup means, suppose if you have any 5 GB data and you want to back up this thing, so what will happen in EBS? First it will back up for all 5 GB data, but after 1 week or after 1 month, this 5 GB data will go to 7 GB data. On that time, EBS will not start from zero. It will start from after 5 GB. So this is called incremental backup. And the vertical scale up means, suppose if you have 6 GB data, top of it you can add 4 more GB, so it will be 10 GB data. And also EBS comes with other types like general purpose, GP2, provisional IOPS, throughput optimized, cold storage, and magnetic one also. So what happened in this? In general, this is only for IOPS. If you are familiar with input output per second, then this is useful for you. Otherwise, you can skip this. And throughput in this magnetic, this is the lowest cost per gigabyte for all the EBS volume. And this is also bootable means you can use this type of EBS volume for your boot volume, but you can't use cold SSD, because it is on, like suppose it is your D drive or E drive, you can't use it as a C drive, because on C drive your operating system and other thing will be there, that is responsible for boot your system. You can't use cold SSD for your boot volume. You can use magnetic EBS or general purpose or provision throughput. And also in after this session also I will uh, tell you about how you mount any extra EBS volume on your EC2 machine. So after that S3 will come. So what is S3?
Hello.
S3, hello?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Can you please explain what is cold HDD?
Cold STD. Okay, sure. So what happened in cold SS? Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So what happened in cold SSD? Yeah, this is only for file storage. Like suppose, as I told you, for magnetic disk, you can use it for boot up, but you can't use cold SSD for boot up. It is only for your data storage. Like for suppose if you are using any, for example, suppose if you are familiar with Windows instance, so this is like your D drive or E drive. It can't be your C drive. And also it is lowest cost is for this cold SSD, you will face minimum cost, and this is only responsible for infrequent access workload. Like suppose if you are doing any big data or any other job, so on that time what happen, you want data to in frequent manner. So you can't use this cold SSD for your frequently accessed data. And you can also use cold SSD as your file server. So maybe it will be enough for you, or you want more explanation?
No, thank you.
Yeah. Any other have any doubts?
No, from my end.
Okay, so after that S3. So in S3 is stands for simple storage service, and in S3 you can this is also responsible for storing our data. But in S3 we can store it by using object storage. Object storage in the sense you will have one key and you will have some data value, and key will be like key will be your file name, and its data will be like suppose key is simply for your object name, and value is also your simply data that you are storing on your S3 object. And this also comes under S3 metadata, and this metadata is about your storing data. On that you will find some X-ray cross origin reference, and wait, let me show you S3. So here, like suppose if you want to create any kind of data storage, so for that you have to create one bucket, and bucket is responsible for and this bucket name also it will be unique from all the thing. Like suppose here I created one bucket is hypercloud.in, and suppose if I want to create same thing like hypercloud.in, so here bucket name is already owned by you. Like suppose if I want test, see, bucket name already exists. So for creating new bucket, you have to make sure that your bucket will be unique from all the world. And in this also, like suppose this is my key, this is my key, and this is its value in the sense my proper data. And this is also metadata is there, like server side encryption, currently it is none. Storage class standard, we will also come under storage class, like what kind of class is there in S3 bucket. And e tag value, e tag value is for like suppose if you are sending any code to any your data to S3, then based on its SHA value, this is for its SHA value. For, like suppose if you want to re-verify this thing, on that case you can use e tag value. S3 is safe place for your store of your files, because AWS guaranteed that 99.119%, like after putting data to S3 you will save your data, and it is object based storage. And in this you can store file from 1 byte to 5 TB. Like your file size can be 0 byte, or it can be more, it can be like 5 TB of one file. And after uploading to any file to S3, you will get HTTP 200 code if it is successful. Otherwise you will got other kind of error code. And these are the types that you will face on S3 tier. Like basically S3 is for standard, like this one, standard class. And after that S3 will be used. IAM in the sense infrequently accessed. Like suppose if you have any data and you don't want to use this thing in frequently, so on that time you can use this S3 IA storage class. Because what happen in this you will face little less cost, because S3 standard is higher price and this is less. And also like one zone IA, same as IA, however, data is stored in single availability zone only, still 99.119 durability, but only 99.5% availability. And also cost is 20% less than this. S3IA, and after that it will come reduced redundancy storage. In this is also designed to provide 99.99 durability and 99.99 availability to your object, but cost is less. And this glacier and deep archive, suppose if you have any lots of logs file, like suppose if you are running any hospital website or any kind of payment thing, on that time after 1 year or 2 year you will got lots of log in the sense 50 to 500 to 1000 GB or 1000 TB of logs, and also that log is not useful for you. So on that time what you can do, you can put it on Glacier or Deep Archive. So after doing this thing you will save lot of cost. For example, see here pricing S3 price versus Deep Archive price. See, for first month you have to give this per GB, but in case of Deep Archive, see this is very less. That's why people are started using S3 Glacier Deep Archive, because it is very cheap for putting your logs. But one more thing, if you want this data, you have to wait for 12 hours, and for this also you have to wait for 12 hours. Not 12 hour, like 1 minute to 12 hour, based on your data size they will take time. And after that, what is the difference between S3 versus EBS versus EFS? EFS stands for elastic file storage. So in the case of limitation, so suppose if you want to use S3, so in this you can use infrequently data. Like suppose if you are running any EC2 machine, so on that case, suppose your Python script is there, and uh, after running each Python execution, you need to read this file. So you can't use, on that time you can't use S3 because it needs frequent access to the file. So on that case, you can either use EBS or you can use EFS, because it is like EBS is for block storage and EFS is for network storage and data access time also. Because in EBS you can access it by less time, in EFS also, but in S3 it will take time. And limitation, as I told you earlier, EBS is region logged. Like suppose if you have any instance that are running on, wait, let me show you. Hmm. So US East one is stand for North Virginia region, and this A, B, and C, these are stands for its availability zone. Like this is on other availability zone, this is on another availability zone, and this is also on another availability zone. So suppose if we want to use EBS, EBS. So on that case, what happened? It will. So you can't use this EBS volume to this EC2 instance because they are from different region. This is 1A region and this is 1B region. So you can't use this data on this instance. That's why we need to use EFS, because what happened in EFS, it is network file storage, and this is also and this is not region specific. So what we can do, like after putting this network file system, we instance can either use by this machine or either use by using this machine or either use by this machine. So these are the main difference between EBS and EFS. And like suppose if you want to use any S3 thing, on that case you need to use by using HTTP request, and in S3 it is all the files as counted as object, and for using this, yeah, it is virtually unlimited file. Like you don't you will not know where is your file, but your file will be there in somewhere in AWS cloud. And this is HTTP based interface, but in block storage in the sense your EBS or your EFS file can be split and stored in a fixed size block. Like suppose if you want 4 GB file, 4 GB EFS or 8 GB EFS, so this will be responsible for you. And also you can increase your capacity based on your requirement of your EC2 machine or other thing. And in this IOPS also, like suppose if you want more frequent access data, so on that case you can use different type of EBS volume that I already mentioned before, like here EBS volume. Like suppose if you want greater performance, so on that case you can use provision IOPS SSD, because for this you will face more than approx 10,000 IOPS per second. Yeah. Any doubts on this comparison?
No, Ashish.
So let's come to deployment strategies. So what are the deployment? What like so before getting to deployment strategies, our question will be why we use deployment and why it is useful. So suppose a scenario where developer are making some code and they want to reflect it on production. So what will happen? If they are doing it manually, then for some time production will go down. So that will be not our best case. So for making this thing, we are using different kind of deployment strategies, like all at once means suppose if you have same. Hmm. Suppose you have three EC2 machines, three all are in same region. Like for now, suppose this is version 1, this is version 2, and this will be our, sorry, version 1, version 1, and we don't need this thing. It can be our ALB or ELB. Okay. So suppose currently we have three server and our production is running, all are having version 1. But suppose if we are following all at once deployment strategies, so on that case, what will happen? Our all three server will went down for particular movement, and after some time it will update to version 2 and version 2. But in what are the disadvantage for these strategies? You will face downtime, because at same time all the server is going down. After going to down, it will restart this server, then it will update the code. That's these are the disadvantages for rolling update. All at once. So we covered all at once, and suppose if we want to other, then it will come rolling. So what happened in rolling update? Suppose if you currently you will have version 2 application of all the your production server. So after some time you want to make some changes on this web application. Like suppose you want version 2 to version 3, and currently you are using rolling update. So what will happen in this? Suppose you have 3 server. So for each time this thing, this will be went down, and after some time this version 2 will be version 3, and for current live traffic these two server will be responsible, and after doing update it will went up, and our traffic is also going to this server, and this is also our server. So here also our traffic will go, and for now this server here, it will went down for some movement, because currently we are updating this. So it will, after some time it will go to version 2 to version 3. Then here also traffic will go, but after while doing this deployment traffic will not go to this side. It will shut down for a certain time. Then here version 2 to be version 3, then this will down. After some time all the server will be live for your newly created version. These are the rolling update. And other type of deployment strategies are rolling with extra nodes. So suppose currently we have version 3, and now what we want to update this version 3 to version 4. So what we can do here, we can add one more server or two more server for our current load. So while deployment, what happened, we will add two more server. These are the new server, and this is also, these two are new server. So what will happen if this server will go down for certain task? Like suppose this server is down because currently we are deploying some traffic to this thing. So what will happen, ALB will divert some traffic to our newly created server, and after this will be for version 2, version 3 to version 4. Then this will be live, and after that this go to shutdown. Then here also version 3 to version 4. Then ALB will also divert some traffic to this thing. Then it will come to this version 4. And suppose currently we have, previously we have only three type of server, only three server. So currently we updated all three. So after that it will delete extra node. So by following this method, we can we can decrease our production downtime. Also, we can improve our deployment faster. So these are the deployment strategies. Like if you are following all at once, on that time you have to face some downtime, because like suppose if your deployment will fail, so on that time your production will down. So this will be not good time for rolling back. You need to redeploy this thing, and in case of rolling you will face little downtime, because for each time one server will down, and but in this you will face zero downtime, but deployment time will be more because you are updating one server at a time. And in this also DNS change is not required, because as per this diagram we are using same DNS, because it is coming from behind our ELB, and rolling with extra batches. In this, deployment time will be more because we are adding more server, but we can take zero down time. And in blue green deployment also, like suppose after this slide I will also explain what is blue green deployment. And in this deployment you will face lot of time, because it will take time. But in this also, here you will face some DNS changes. This will I will explain you, because in this URL will be swapped. Blue green deployment, like suppose these are our, suppose this is our myweb.com, and this is our route 53. Route 53 is responsible for changing DNS resolver. Like suppose this is myapp.com, after some time it needs some IP, so this is responsible for this. After coming from route 53, it will like its IP will be like 1.2.3.4 or somewhere else, something else. So after this route 53, our traffic will go to elastic load balancer, and this is our BlueStack. And here you can see this is currently they are using AWS OpsWork, but you can use any other deployment tool, like AWS OpsWork is basically followed Puppet, and but you can use either Ansible, Terraform, CloudFormation, or Code Deploy, Jenkins, or whatever tools you want. And see this blue stack, this is our previous version 1 version. Wait, this is our version 1, and this will be our version 2. So what will happen here? Suppose this is our version 1, and for some time this is production, and this route 53 will divert all the traffic to our blue stack. Blue stack means previous version. And after doing blue green deployment, it will create same type of environment here. Like suppose it is created one ELB load balancer, and all lots of server, because currently here we have 3 server. It create 3 more server, one ELB, and suppose if we have any DB, so DB will be come here, and this currently this will be connected from this thing. And after some time here, like suppose this all the deployment will be done on that time, what here happen, it will, so for first time in blue stack all the 100% traffic will go But when this green stack will come, it will send some little amount of traffic. Like suppose if we are following linear approach, on that time it will send 10% of our production traffic to this newly created green stack. After that, what will happen? It will based on ELB diversion request, it will check, Route 53 will check like all the traffic is going fine or something got wrong. If all the health check will be fine, so after one time it will increase this to 20% and this will be our 80%. And after some time it will go to 70%, then it will be 30%. Then some after 1 or 10 minutes it will go based on your configuration 40%, then 50, then 60, then 70, then 80, then 90. But after some time it will went to 100% traffic to your newly created server. And this, after that, it will destroy this blue stack, and route 53 will only send this traffic to this newly created green stack. And also this DV is also now connected to this newly one. So these are the deployment strategies for blue green deployment. Any question for this? Okay. Yeah. So for now, we are taking demo for EC2 and EBS volume. So currently we need to follow for EC2 machine. So this is our AWS dashboard. We need to find EC2 virtual server in cloud. Here currently we have 0 instance. One is running. So here we need to choose our AMI. Like suppose if we want to use Amazon Linux too, then we can select this thing. If we want to use Red Hat, then we can use this. For SESU, we can select this one. This is for Ubuntu. But for now, we are taking Amazon Linux too. Here it is asking for what type of configuration you want. For T2.micro, it is free. But suppose if you want to use other kind of thing, then you can use other services. Like suppose if you want T2 dot small, then you will get 1 CPU and 2 GB RAM, 2 GIB. GIB means gigabyte, and this is for instance storage GB. And suppose if you want T2.2x large, on that case you will get 8 CPU and 32 GB of memory. So currently I am taking it general purpose. Here number of instance we want only one, this will be spot. No, we are launching it on default reason subnet. Either we can select this thing or uh, no preference. Then auto assign IP, if we want, enable it. And suppose if we want this on to a reason, then here we can select capacity reservation IAM role. Suppose previously I created S3 access, sorry. So here I am giving it S3 full access. After that, shutdown behavior will be stop or terminate. I am taking it at stop. Then it will be our network interface. Then if we want to run any boot type script, then we can use user data or we can skip this. Add storage. So this is for our volume or root volume. Currently we are taking only 8 GB, so it will be enough for us. And IOPS is also 100 to 3000 IOPS. Tag not required for security group. Suppose if we want SSH to all the anywhere, then we can use this. And suppose if we want HTTP, then we can enable HTTP protocol, and port range will be 80, and it will also accessible from anywhere. But we can use this SSH to my IP. After that, launch this instance. Here it's a review instance type. Currently we are taking free tier. Instance type will be T2 micro, security group, instance detail, storage and other thing. Then launch. Now it is asking for key pair. So here we can use this thing, then acknowledge. After that, launch instance. So after some time, you can see here, this is our new EC2 done. So for this, it will take little time, and also you can connect this either by using PuTTY if you are using Windows session, or if you are using any MacBook or Linux uh, tool. On that case, you can use directly SSH. Now refresh this page. Yeah, currently it is on running, and this is status health. This is also responsible because in some of interview you will face this question like what is 2 by 2 check on EC2 machine. So 2 by 2 is health check, and suppose here if you went down status check, here you can check system status check and instance status check. So in system status check, it will check like if your system is verify all the network and other thing, then system will check, and instance will check first check like system status is correct or not, like your currently you are getting your instance is accepting all the traffic or not. So after some time, it will also pass this status check. But for suppose connect, if I want to connect, then we can either use SSH client session manager or EC2 this instance connect. But currently I need to use SSH client. We need to copy this and paste over here. Yes, clear. So currently I have one EC2 machine. So see host name. This is our host name. So suppose if you want to re-verify this thing, copy this thing and paste here. See, this is our EC2 machine. And now suppose if we want to launch Apache server. So what we can do, sudo yum update -y. See here, health check is success. Now sudo yum install httpd -y. So now what we can do, we can use this public IP, and if we paste on our browser, then we will get wait, sudo system ctl status httpd. So currently it is dead. So what we can do, we can start this service. Start. Now check it again. Here it is active and running. So if we come here again and if we refresh this page, see, we can check test.home. But suppose I go host name is this thing, and if we want to redirect on var www html, then here one default page will be there. Let's check it first. Cd ls, here we need to paste host name to index.html. Sudo. So here if we find index.html, we can see our server IP. So that's it for now. We, okay, or if we want to add any more extra storage, then also we can increase this by going to here volume. currently we have to, if we want to modify volume, we can increase this size, but we can't decrease this size. So this comes under EBS. So thank you for joining us, guys. If you have any question, please let us know. Thank you.